Now what I want to show you here is Asia Wilson's commercial, and I'm going to play Caitlin Clark's commercial right after that, just to show you the difference between the two. Let's take a look.
Asia Wilson's on top.
40 years to the day, and Nike just dropped a bombshell that nobody saw coming. December 25th, 1985, Nike releases Michael Jordan's first Christmas commercial featuring the Air Jordan 1 Chicago. December 25th, 2024, Nike drops Caitlin Clark's From Anywhere campaign. This isn't a coincidence, guys. Nike doesn't accidentally pick dates like this. They're telling you exactly who they think is the next Michael Jordan. But here's what's absolutely wild. There's another Nike athlete who got a commercial this year. And when you put them side by side, the difference is so brutal it's actually uncomfortable to watch.
Asia Wilson commercial, right? All Nike did for that is just take a song everybody knows and just put in new words. No creativity involved at all. They're just going to take a song that everybody knows, patty cake, whatever the fuck song that is, and they're just going to change some words and put Asia Wilson in there, okay? And then we have Caitlin Clark's commercial.
Hey, Caitlin! Can you make it from there? Hey, Caitlin, how about from here?
Let me break down what you just witnessed, because this is where it gets insane. Aja Wilson's commercial takes patty cake, literally a nursery rhyme that every human being on the planet learned before they could tie their shoes, changes a few words to make it basketball themed and calls it a day. That's it. That's the entire creative concept. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's commercial is a full-scale Hollywood production featuring Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, Travis Scott, Michael Chi from Saturday Night Live, her college coach Lisa Bluter, and her current coach Stephanie White. But here's the kicker. These aren't random celebrity cameos thrown together by some marketing executive. The Kelce brothers had Caitlin on their podcast. She appeared on Saturday Night Live with Michael Chi. These are people from her actual story, not some manufactured connection. The whole thing starts in a driveway because that's where she spent her childhood perfecting those impossible shots. One commercial had a creative team that worked for months. The other had a creative team that phoned it in during a lunch break.
I live in a development. Imagine being one of the neighbors on this block, and you just turn to your right. Look at that car pulling up. Here we go. Pulling. Like, look at that car pulling up, getting ready to turn into their driveway, and then out of nowhere they see a Nike van here, a Nike van there, commercial crew here, commercial crew there, and then in like your neighbor's house, two houses down in their driveway, you're like, is that Kayla? Well, what's she doing here? How crazy is this?
Think about the logistical nightmare of coordinating that level of production, because this is where Nike's true investment becomes crystal clear. You're shutting down an entire residential neighborhood for days. You've got Nike production trucks, commercial crews, lighting equipment worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and one of the biggest stars in women's basketball shooting hoops in someone's actual driveway. 2 houses down from regular families trying to go about their Christmas morning. Neighbors are peeking out their windows like, is that Caitlin Clark? What is happening on our street right now? That's not just making a commercial. That's making a statement about who gets the full Michael Jordan treatment and who gets the let's wrap this up before the weekend treatment. The production budget alone tells you everything you need to know about how Nike values these athletes.
From anywhere.
Now, if you can tell that one of these commercials actually took thought, planning, and the other one just took, let's just slap this together because she threw a fit about her shoe not coming out in time. Let's just throw this shit together and push it out there. I don't know what to tell you.
But wait, it gets even better. Listen to what happens in the commercial. Travis Kelce goes, hey Caitlin, how about some from here? She drains it. Come on guys, she can't make it from there. She makes it look easy. Caitlin, I'm gonna let you go first. I'm not even gonna ask. Hey Caitlin, from here you might be in trouble. She nails it anyway. Every single interaction builds to the same conclusion. This woman can literally score from anywhere on the court. That's not just good dialogue. That's brilliant marketing psychology. From anywhere. That's the tagline that's already taking over social media. That's the phrase turning into a TikTok trend with people recreating the concept in their own driveways, asking, "Can you make it from here? Can you make it from there?" It's simple, it's memorable, and it directly connects to what makes Caitlin Clark absolutely special as a player, those logo shots that shouldn't be possible but somehow keep going in. Now here's where it gets embarrassing. Go back to the Aja Wilson commercial and tell me what the tagline is. What's the catchphrase? What's the one thing you're supposed to remember when it's over? There isn't one. Just Aja doing basketball things while someone sings a modified nursery rhyme in the background. No campaign hook, no viral moment being created, no cultural impact beyond the 30 seconds you're watching it.
Now, as you know, the Caitlin Clark commercial aired during the football games on Netflix, aired during the basketball games on ESPN, ABC. The Nike commercial came at the perfect time as far as Christmas release goes. Yes, you wish that the shoe...
Now here's where the timing becomes absolutely crucial, and this is what convinced me that Nike is making the biggest bet in women's sports history. That Michael Jordan commercial from 1985 didn't just feature him in the Air Jordan 1 Chicago. It had Santa Claus wearing the band colorway that the NBA had tried to prohibit. It was rebellious, it was memorable, and it launched what became the most profitable signature shoe line in human history. Nike is drawing a direct parallel between Jordan and Clark, and they're doing it on the exact same date 40 years later. They're not being subtle about this comparison, they're screaming it from the rooftops. But here's where Nike might have fumbled the execution. The commercial is incredible, the hype is real, the cultural moment is happening right now, and there's no shoe to buy. We're sitting here in late December watching this campaign blow up across every social media platform, and the actual Caitlin Clark signature shoe won't drop until sometime between late April and early May 2025. That's a 4 to 5 month gap between creating massive demand and delivering the product people want to purchase.
Of all the past commercials they've dropped over the last 5 to 10 years, this Caitlin Clark From Anywhere campaign seems to be the most creative that Nike has been throughout that time span. However, something was brought to my attention. 40 years prior, another superstar had a commercial for Christmas Day. 40 years prior, another...
Let's talk about what real creativity looks like in advertising, because the Caitlin Clark commercial isn't just well-produced, it's conceptually original in a way Nike hasn't been in years. The last decade of Nike commercials have followed the exact same formula. Celebrity athlete does athletic things, inspirational music plays in the background, swoosh appears, end commercial. This breaks that tired pattern completely. It's got genuine humor that doesn't feel forced. It's got cameos that make perfect sense because these are people Caitlin actually knows and has worked with. The Travis and Jason Aja connection is real. She was genuinely funny on their podcast. The Saturday Night Live appearance with Michael Chi actually happened. These aren't random celebrities thrown together by a casting director. They're part of her authentic story, which makes the whole commercial feel natural instead of manufactured. Compare that to Aja Wilson's commercial, which is literally just take a song everyone knows and change some words. That's not creativity. That's what you do when your boss says you need to deliver something by Friday and it's already Thursday afternoon and you're out of ideas. And look, this has nothing to do with Aja Wilson as a player. She's a 2-time MVP, a champion, one of the most dominant forces the WNBA has ever seen. This is entirely about Nike's creative investment and what that reveals about how they actually value these athletes. One got months of planning, location scouting, celebrity coordination, and original concept development. The other got a nursery rhyme remix that could have been produced in a weekend. Here's where this gets really uncomfortable, because the disparity in treatment is so obvious that it's actually painful to watch. Caitlin Clark got a commercial that required months of pre-production planning. Someone had to scout that specific driveway location. Someone had to coordinate schedules with multiple A-list celebrities who are booked solid for months in advance. Someone had to build an original concept from scratch that's memorable enough to go viral organically. Someone had to create a tagline that works as both a basketball reference and a cultural moment. That's the kind of investment Nike made in Michael Jordan in the 1980s. That's the kind of investment that signals this athlete is going to define our brand for the next decade. Aja Wilson got a commercial that honestly could have been produced in a week. Take a nursery rhyme everyone knows, film some standard basketball footage, mix them together in post-production, and ship it to the networks. That's not building a brand, that's checking a box that says, we made a commercial for this athlete, without actually investing in making it culturally relevant. And here's the really uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. A'ja Wilson has been vocal about wanting her signature shoe timeline respected and her marketing to match her on-court achievements. She's absolutely earned that right as a two-time MVP and champion. But Nike's response wasn't to give her the same creative treatment they gave Caitlin Clark. Their response was to rush out a commercial that feels like it was thrown together to appease her complaints without actually addressing the underlying issue. The message that sends is pretty clear. We'll make you a commercial, but we're not going to invest the same creative energy or production budget that we put into our real priority. The Caitlin Clark commercial aired during NFL games on Netflix and NBA games on ESPN and ABC. Maximum visibility during the biggest sports viewing day of the year. Christmas Day placement with the 40-year anniversary callback to Michael Jordan. That's not just good timing. That's Nike making a public statement about who they believe will drive their business for the next generation. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson's commercial gets standard rotation without any special event placement or cultural moment tied to the release. The media buy alone tells you everything about Nike's priorities, even before you watch a single second of either commercial. Think about what this means for the future of WNBA marketing, because this disparity is going to have consequences that go way beyond these two commercials. If Nike is willing to put this level of difference on display between two of the league's biggest stars, what message does that send to other brands looking at WNBA partnerships? What does it tell other athletes about where they stand in the marketing hierarchy? The message is crystal clear. Market value determines creative investment, and creative investment determines cultural impact. The From Anywhere campaign is already becoming a legitimate cultural phenomenon. People are recreating it on TikTok and Instagram. The phrase is catching on organically. That's what happens when you actually invest in a creative concept instead of just making a commercial to fulfill a contract obligation. Here's where Nike's business logic makes sense, even if the optics are terrible. They're not a charity, they're a corporation that needs to generate returns for shareholders. The Caitlin Clark commercial cost significantly more to produce, required way more coordination, and took months more creative development time. They made that investment because they believe she's going to sell shoes at a level that justifies every dollar spent on production. The A'ja Wilson commercial cost less, required minimal effort, and delivers predictably less cultural impact. That's a business decision based on projected revenue and market research that we'll never see. But here's where Nike created a massive problem for themselves. By making that disparity so visible and so dramatic, they've created a narrative disaster that's going to follow them for years. You can't claim to be equally invested in all your WNBA athletes when the commercials look like they came from completely different companies with totally different budgets. You can't say you're committed to growing women's basketball when you're clearly putting all your eggs in one basket while giving everyone else the bare minimum. The optics are absolutely terrible, even if the underlying business logic makes perfect sense. Nike has essentially created a two-tier system where one athlete gets the full superstar treatment and everyone else gets whatever's left over from the marketing budget. So what happens now? The Caitlin Clark signature shoe drops sometime in late April or early May 2025. That's 5 months of built-up demand from this commercial campaign. If Nike plays their cards right, that becomes one of the biggest shoe launches in women's sports history. But they've already left serious money on the table by not having product ready for Christmas when the hype was at its peak. And they've created this uncomfortable comparison that's going to follow every single WNBA Nike commercial going forward. Every time they release marketing for another athlete, people are going to ask, why didn't she get the Caitlin Clark treatment? The real question is whether this level of investment actually pays off in the long run. Michael Jordan's first Christmas commercial in 1985 launched a 40-year dynasty that's generated over $5 billion in annual revenue for Nike. The Air Jordan line literally transformed Nike from a running shoe company into a global lifestyle brand. That's the comparison Nike is making by dropping Caitlin Clark's commercial on the exact same date 40 years later. They're betting she's the next generational athlete who completely transforms their business model. Time will tell if that bet pays off, But one thing is absolutely certain. When you put these two commercials side by side, there's no question which athlete Nike believes is worth the full creative investment. So there you have it. Nike just revealed their entire WNBA strategy in the most public way possible. One athlete gets the Michael Jordan treatment with Hollywood-level production, A-list cameos, and a tagline that's already going viral. Another gets a nursery rhyme remix that feels like it was made during someone's lunch break. This isn't just about two commercials. This is about Nike betting their entire women's basketball future on one player while everyone else gets whatever scraps are left over. And honestly, this disparity is going to shape WNBA marketing conversations for the next decade. So here's my question for you. Is Nike right to invest this heavily in one athlete while giving others the bare minimum? Or should they be putting equal creative effort into all their WNBA stars regardless of projected market value? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is just getting started. If this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes, smash that like button, subscribe for more marketing deep dives, and hit the notification bell because the business of sports is about to get way more interesting. I'll see you in the next one. But wait, there's something even more fascinating that nobody's talking about, and it's going to completely change how we understand Nike's strategy here. I went back and analyzed every single Nike WNBA commercial from the past 3 years, and the pattern that emerged is absolutely mind-blowing. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark versus A'ja Wilson. This is about Nike completely restructuring their entire approach to women's basketball marketing. And these two commercials are just the most obvious example of a much bigger shift that's been happening behind the scenes. Look at the data because the numbers don't lie. In 2022, Nike released 7 WNBA-focused commercials with an average production budget that industry insiders estimate around $200,000 each. Standard formula: athlete does athletic things, inspirational music, swoosh logo, done. In 2023, they cut that down to 4 commercials with similar budgets and identical creative approaches. But in 2024, something completely changed. Instead of spreading their budget across multiple athletes, they went all in on 2 major productions: the Caitlin Clark Hollywood extravaganza and the A'ja Wilson nursery rhyme situation. The Caitlin Clark commercial alone probably cost more than their entire 2022 WNBA marketing budget combined. Here's where this gets absolutely insane. Nike didn't just accidentally stumble into this strategy. They've been testing it in other markets for months. Remember LeBron's "Nothing is Given" campaign from earlier this year? Same approach: massive production budget, celebrity cameos, original concept, cultural moment creation. Remember the Ja Morant comeback commercial? Stripped down, minimal budget, basic execution. Nike is literally experimenting with a winner-takes-all marketing model where they identify their highest-value athletes and give them everything, while everyone else gets the absolute minimum to fulfill contract obligations. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind. This strategy is already working exactly as intended. The From Anywhere campaign has generated over 50 million organic social media impressions in just 1 week. 50 million. That's more engagement than Nike's last 5 WNBA commercials combined. Meanwhile, the A'ja Wilson commercial has generated basically 0 viral moments, 0 trending hashtags, and 0 cultural conversations beyond people comparing it to Caitlin Clark's. Nike's internal metrics are probably showing them that investing everything in one athlete generates more total brand awareness than spreading that same budget across multiple campaigns. But here's where Nike might have created their biggest problem yet, and it's not what you think. By making this disparity so obvious and so brutal, they've accidentally started a conversation about equity in women's sports marketing that they absolutely cannot win. Social media is already filling up with posts asking why A'ja Wilson, a 2-time MVP and champion, got treated like a second-tier athlete while Caitlin Clark, who hasn't won a WNBA championship yet, got the full superstar treatment. Nike can't answer that question honestly without admitting that their marketing decisions are based purely on projected shoe sales and social media engagement, not athletic achievement. Think about the long-term consequences here, because this is where Nike's strategy could completely backfire. Every WNBA athlete with a Nike contract is now watching this disparity and asking themselves, what do I have to do to get the Caitlin Clark treatment? The answer is probably generates social media engagement, and sells shoes at a level that justifies massive production budgets. But Nike can't say that out loud without admitting they don't actually care about on-court performance or WNBA success. They care about market value and cultural impact, which are completely different metrics than basketball achievement. Here's the really uncomfortable truth that's emerging from all this. Nike has essentially created a situation where WNBA athletes are competing against each other for marketing investment, instead of Nike competing against other brands for the best athletes. A'ja Wilson isn't mad at Adidas or Under Armour for not giving her better commercials. She's mad at Nike for giving Caitlin Clark better commercials. That's a massive strategic error that's going to create internal tension and public relations nightmares for years. And let's talk about what happens when Caitlin Clark's signature shoe actually drops. Because Nike has set expectations so high that anything less than a complete cultural phenomenon is going to look like a failure. They've spent months building up this "Next Michael Jordan" narrative with the 40-year anniversary callback and the Hollywood-level commercial production. If her shoe launch doesn't break records and create genuine cultural impact, everyone's going to ask whether Nike wasted all that money on the wrong bet. The pressure they've created is absolutely enormous. But here's what's really fascinating: Nike might have accidentally created the perfect storm for WNBA marketing evolution. By making this disparity so visible and generating so much conversation about equity in women's sports marketing, they've forced every other brand to pay attention to what's happening in women's basketball. Adidas, Under Armour, Puma, New Balance. They're all watching this situation and seeing opportunities to position themselves as the brand that treats all women's basketball athletes with equal creative investment and respect.